everyone! So today is what I consider to be the official start of garden season in my garden, and that is because I am finally sowing my first seeds out into the garden beds for 2023. So I'm going to sow just a few cool weather crops today. We're kind of at that point in spring where it looks like the forecast we're averaging around 40 to 50 degrees every day for an extended period of time. Now that doesn't mean we're not going to get even more snow, but at least now I feel that it is just about the right time to get these crops outside into the garden. Now I don't ever start cool season crops inside, whether it's for spring or fall, just personal preference, and also because I don't start a ton of them. So it makes sense to me and how I work in my garden to just plant them directly outside. So I'll go over what I'm growing. It's only 3 different varieties right now, although I might stop this weekend at a garden center and get some starts of some other cool season crops. Like I might try broccoli again. I had good luck the first season I tried it, and then bad luck the next 2 seasons. And I also might get some lettuce as well. But what I'm actually gonna sow today, I have radishes, I have beets, and I have snap peas. So the specific varieties I'm growing, the radish hybrid starburst from Park Seed. These, well, most of these I chose just based on how they look, but I also have had them in the past and they taste good as well. So this one is a really pretty color. It's like white on the outside and then pink on the inside. So that should be really fun to grow. I think I'm gonna do, because radishes are the quickest growing crop, so the quickest to come to maturity, it's usually around 30 days. So I think I'm probably gonna start these, maybe I'll do 1 or 2 rows today and then a couple more rows in a couple weeks. That way I just have different kind of rounds of radishes throughout the spring season. Now, I will be planting all of my cool weather crops in beds where I will need to transplant the warm season crops outside around mid-May. So I do hope that everything is done by then. If not, I'll kind of just plant around and in between, but I shouldn't have any problem for that with the radishes. Also, last spring, it was a terrible spring in terms of weather for the cool season crops. I didn't even get my radishes to maturity, and that has never happened to me before. We basically had very cold weather, colder than normal, and then it jumped up to very hot weather, and there wasn't kind of that in-between period of like the 40 and 50 degrees, which is what I think we are actually having this spring, which is much more mild, not kind of that discrepancy between really cold and really hot temps. So I'm hoping that everything does well this year. So yeah, the radish hybrid starburst, then I have the beet rainbow blend, also from Park Seed, and again I got these because they look pretty. Beets have worked well for me in the fall for the last couple of years. I think the last either 1 or 2 springs, definitely last spring, but I think even the spring before I didn't have great luck with them. So if it doesn't work this year, then I might just keep beets to the fall, because I feel like our fall weather is much more stable than kind of our springs can be. So that might just become a fall season crop, but we'll see. And then last, I have my Royal Snap 2 peas. These are from Johnny Seed. This will be my, I think, second or third year sowing these in the garden. These I also chose because they're pretty, because the pea pods on these are a really deep purple. So I love how they look, but they taste, again, delicious, just like regular green snap peas would. So I'm gonna get these into the garden as well. I'll probably sow maybe 3 per hole, just because they are a couple years older. I think the radishes and beets I just got in the fall, so they're not even a year old yet. But let's go ahead, I will take you outside and I will show you where I'm going to be planting all of these seeds. We're out on the garden now, and I'm only going to actually be sowing in 2 of the 4 raised beds. So this one here is where I've grown my peas, I think, every year that I've sown them, or every season. And I still have the sunflower trellises I made. So these sunflowers I sowed directly in here last year. I tied each of them together in groups of 3, and then I grew the peas up them in the fall. I'm going to grow the peas up them again this spring, and then I'll go ahead and remove the trellises and plant new sunflowers here for this year. But in the bed, I did just like leave last year's pea plants in here, like the stalks and stems and all that, just to break down a little bit. I'll probably leave them in here after sowing as well, and then I'll clean it up before I plant my warm season crops. There are also some pansies that I think I'm gonna have to pull from last fall in order to get the beets in here. So plan is for peas right in front of the trellis in one row, and then in front of that a row of beets. Coming around to the other side of the deck, to this bed here, this is where I'm going to sow my radishes. Now there are tulips in here right now, but with a small garden you have to kind of succession plant or plant things together, and I think that should be fine because it's not like the radishes take up that much space, and I can tell at least from like one tulip sprout right here that I'll try to estimate between my tulip rows and sow rows of radishes. Like I said, I think I'm going to do 2 now and then 2 more rows in 2 weeks. So that is the plan here, and then I might also, because I have these bags empty, I might throw some more beets, maybe even 1 or 2 of these, just to get some more growing room, because those obviously take up more space. I think you thin them to about 4 to 6 inches apart. So those I want a bit more space for than just what I can fit in there. So now we'll go ahead, and I think I'm probably going to start with this bed with the peas. So I changed my mind. I actually did remove the peas from last season, or the remnants of the peas, and then I'm also going to, actually there's not much of a root system left on these pansies, but I will take them out to make room for the beets. So I'm just going to take my gloved finger and stick it about 1 inch all the way down this row here, just about 1 inch in front of the trellises, or the sunflower stalks that are making up my trellis. Then I'm going to take the pea seeds in my ungloved hand, because it's easier for me to grab onto the seeds that way, and put 2 or 3 in each of these holes. I think I'm just going to do 2, because I want to try to save enough for fall of the same variety. I'm going to do the beets next, and I'm just going to take my finger, draw a line all the way down, maybe about right here, sow the beet seeds, and then I'll go ahead and thin them after they started to sprout. Alright, so we're done with this bed. Again, we just have peas and beets here. Next, I'm going to sow, and I think I'm just going to use the rest of the seed pack and put the beets in this raised bed, or not this raised bed, this 30-gallon grow bag right here. Last but not least are 2 rows of radishes in this bed. So I'm going to do the same thing I did with the beets, just drag my finger, make 2 rows, drop the seeds in, cover them up, and then I will worry about thinning these out again once they are already sprouted. All right, well, everything is planted, so that makes me really happy. I did end up using all of the beet and radish seeds. The radish pack was new, and it did say there were 100 seeds. It felt like less, but I'm also really bad at estimating numbers anyway. So what I think I'm gonna do for my next round of radish seeds is when I go to the garden center this weekend, just grab some more radish seeds there. So I'll have 2 different varieties. And then I do have, I think, a good amount of the Royal Snap 2 peas left. Let me check in here. Oh yeah, I'm definitely good for at least the fall, if not the fall, and then again the following spring. So that's exciting. So we'll kind of see how these do this year. Fingers crossed that I actually get successful radish harvests and that my beets do well so that I can continue doing them in the spring. My irrigation system is off right now, which I'm not going to turn it on for probably end of April is when I'll start working on it, making sure all the pieces that were out there still function, extending it, replacing anything that needs replacing, just making sure it all works. So I don't really ever have to water cool season crops. We got rain yesterday, so the soil's already wet. We're getting rain tomorrow, so I'm not adding any extra moisture right now. And I'm trying to honestly remember the last time I had to go out before like mid to late May and actually water my garden. Usually it waters itself. I think even last year we were so wet that I didn't turn on my irrigation system till maybe mid-June, if I'm thinking of that correctly. So yeah, here for us, I don't have to do a lot of watering in the spring, which is really nice. So these are incredibly low maintenance for me. I will probably give them a little bit of fertilizer once they start to sprout and get their first true leaves. But other than that, I don't really do much with these, and I'm just hoping that the radishes and beets do well. I think snap peas have always done well for me, so I'm not worried about them. Although now that I said that, I probably just jinxed it, and they will do poorly this season. But it's all up in the air. We'll kind of see. I'll keep you updated over these next few weeks. Hopefully, maybe we'll have some sprouts by the April garden tour, which is not that far away from now. And then hopefully we'll also have some more tulips sprouting and that they didn't die from too much moisture. But we'll see. A lot is left unknown in the garden. So thank you so much for watching this video, and I will see you in the next one.